All right, I think we are live. Welcome to Dream Life, Nicolette.
Thank you.
I think you are the first person, maybe, that I met in real life before I met on the broadcast like this.
I know that was awesome. I love that you reached out and we got to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, so while I just confirm, I'll give a short story of how we connected. Yeah, we are live. So other folks can totally use this strategy, I would say. So I actually years back was a subscriber to the Chopra Center because I'm really into yoga teaching. They have a lot of great blogs about holistic wellness. And sometimes I would see, by Nicolette Stinson. Okay, cool. And I was like, she kind of seems like me. Like, she's not that much older than me. And like, she's blonde and she talks about the things I talk about. And so one day I found your website and I subscribed for your email. And I've been an email subscriber for a couple of years. And then finally, I did a little more, not so much creeping, but reading. And I was living in San Francisco at the time, and your email said that you were in San Francisco and byline is in the Bay, or your address is in the Bay Area. And I was like, we could like meet up. So I sent an email back and we got talking. But being on someone's email list means that you can hit reply. They're real people on the other side, and you never know what it could lead to. So today it has led to us having her here with us talking about creating an abundant brand, which I absolutely love. Is that sort of your tagline, or is that just how you talk about branding? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, abundant brand to me is basically like the process that I take people through. It's like believing in this sort of dream that you have of who you could be and how your life could be, and being able to actually package that into something that's communicated to someone who really needs the things you have to give, and like creating abundance for yourself and for the people you touch. So to me, like an abundant brand is just like your personal brand and like your dream totally alive.
I love that. And I think you just debunked a ton of the misconceptions or just held beliefs about a brand that I hear so many questions about. Because you're already talking about how branding is a process and it's about what you do. Because most people that ask me questions, or what I learned in my high school mass media class, is that branding is your logo, your scheme, the colors. So how do you help people understand that the logo or the color scheme is not where you need to start when you start a brand?
Yeah, so I think there is this perception that your graphics, your logo, your colors is your brand. And in some ways, it is your brand, but it's kind of a reflection of what your brand really is. And it's the way that you're communicating like the deeper aspects of like your vision and your mission in the world. So, I mean, it's kind of a process, but
I know, like,
basically,
those are my words. Yeah, I mean, there's such big topics that we throw around a lot.
yeah.
So would you say that you need to understand your mission and vision before you start to think about a brand?
Yeah, I think the where I always start with like my one-on-one clients is with vision, because I feel like, and not just vision for because there's sort of like from a personal branding standpoint, there's like the vision of what you do and kind of how you do it, and you stay within that box of your work that you do, but actually start with like your full life vision. And I go like 3 years in the future, and then kind of bring it back to 2 years, and then 1 year, because I feel like that's just far enough to like create something like magical and like bigger than what's happening for you right now, but not so far that it's like a little bit intangible. And I
Mm-hmm.
start with like that holistic vision because it's so important to build a life that, you can find abundance on all levels, right? Like you can like fit in what you want to do with like how you want to live. And I think
Yeah.
that's more toward like that's the like direction that the world's going in, right? And like that's where people are realizing what's possible for themselves and like what's possible for their life. So I always start with that holistic vision. And also because it anchors in, like, I think when you're really connected and you're really clear about like what you want to create for your life, it somehow creates this anchor for like your purpose and your drive and your motivation, and your why becomes kind of clear when you go through that process. And you're more available to like life's synchronicities, and you can see things when they are like given to you, or like they show up for you and you're like, oh, that actually fits in with my vision. And it makes things, it's sort of like the process of manifestation, which I think you're very familiar with.
Yes, and I know a lot of people in this group are big advocates and believers in the, manifestation, the law of attraction. And I love what you're saying. And I think that's a great first place to start, because so often we hear these things like, what's your why, what's your brand, what do you do, but dialing it way back and just thinking about in 3 years or a couple of years, what does your life look like? And stepping into your business or your mission or your offer in a way that fits around your dream life, as opposed to, well, how do I make money online, or those things that we try to jump into. So when people start thinking about, okay, in 3 years, I want to be in a certain place, what are some of the things that trip them up? Or what are some of the challenges of visualizing 3 months out? This is my dream. 3 years out, this is my dream.
Yeah, well, I think getting clear on the vision can actually help with some of the challenges, like because there's going to be doubt, there's going to be frustration, there's going to be things not working out the way you want them to. But when you really are like anchored into your vision, it keeps you going. It's your focus. You don't get like, your focus doesn't get deterred by that. But there can be some challenges in getting clear on that vision too. So you're saying now is basically like I think people can get caught up with wanting to get it perfect, like wanting to like know exactly like, well, I don't know if this is really what I want, or how am I supposed to like figure out what the perfect vision is. And so it's more just taking into consideration like what are you clear on, and like what do you stand for, and like some things aren't going to be like 100% clear, but like what do you know, and sometimes people are like, I don't even know that, but it's like, and then there's just the question of, what if you did?
So, I love that. Yeah. I wondered if the overwhelm, like there's so many things, like, because so many people that I work with want the how, and we can absolutely get there, but it's going to be way more sustainable if you take that step back and like don't think about the how quite yet. So,
and there is a process, like there is like a list of questions, and I actually have like a visualization that people can use. So there's tools you can use to get clearer, but I think just dropping the kind of needing to have it right and the perfectionism and all that can really help a lot for people too, is recognizing that as you take action, it becomes clearer. Like you get feedback when you get out of your head and into life. So
action also helps us overcome fear. And that, like, what if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? It's like, well, just go try and you'll survive. Right. So you asked a great question. Well, what if you did know? What if you did have the clear vision for where you want to be? What are some other questions we can ask ourselves, especially thinking, the people in this group have a vision probably that they want something more, or that they want to be a little bit more financially free or independent in their work. So what questions can we ask ourselves when we try to clarify or maybe even grow that vision exercise for ourselves?
Yeah. You mean like the questions inside of like getting clear on that vision? Like what are some of the things we can ask?
Yeah.
I think what's really helpful actually is like details, because visualization is so much about like having a picture in your mind about the way things are going to be. And for me, I'm also like a really feelings based person. So like thinking about how you want to feel as well. And like I even in some of my questions are like, what are you going to be wearing? Like what's on your desk? Like, what are you listening to? Like, what are you talking about? All these, I don't think you like people realize how all these little things like kind of create the big things. And like when you can start to tap into like the feelings and the small things that are happening, all of a sudden like everything kind of becomes clearer and you get like the picture starts to get fine-tuned. And you're like, well, okay, if that's the case, then you know what has to be true for that to be the case. Like if I'm wearing yoga clothes or whatever you see yourself in, like does that mean, or you see yourself outside a lot, then you know what do you have to be doing to be outside a lot and things like that.
I love that. That's a great tip to just focus in on details and feelings, because also the brain loves to associate memories or images with feelings, and so the more that you can kind of build that wiring, the more the brain will believe it's happening, which is good for manifesting if you're into that.
Right.
Awesome. So let's move a little bit more because we do really want to get into branding. So we've got a good vision, or at least a commitment to start visualizing the details that we want in our life. What are the next couple of steps?
Yeah, the next thing I would do with people is actually do a personal brand profile. So this breaks down into one page eventually. It's going to be like your mission, your vision, your interests, your passions, your strengths, your personality, even things like your target market and your unique promise of value. And we create like a personal brand statement. So this is like when you do this deep dive into, you know, who are you really? And like, what do you want to create? Like bringing in the vision and the mission and things like that, and starting to think about who would you work with. And, so once you, and it's so cool because it all goes into like this one pager that you have this like snapshot of like who you really are, and can kind of pull like bits and pieces from that one page into like the core principles of your brand, and decide based on all that, you know, what are some possibilities for my signature offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love this. You guys, we have talked about so many things that you can create and think about and start working on, and none of it is the name yet, right? Like, I love that now we're even moving into the offer before we even have like some of those external things, because I'm wondering if in your experience you see that just kind of happens more naturally, as opposed to like stressing at the beginning of starting a business or an endeavor. Like, what do I name it? What are all of these little details?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff that we're, you know, talking about so far, like vision and the personal brand profile, it's so easy to skip over for people. Like, it's like, there's kind of, oh, I know who I am, and I know the things I want to do. But when you really start to like flesh this stuff out, you can become even clearer and stronger in your communication of that. And particularly with your why, like, you start to build that motivation for yourself and the drive, which is so necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you gave us a little snapshot of what's on your branding one-sheeter. Can you talk a little bit more about the branding statement and what that consists of?
Your personal brand statement.
Yeah. Sorry, some people are commenting like, oh, interesting. I was so stressed about my name or all that other stuff. Yeah. So this is good. Yeah, let's keep going. The personal brand statement, what does that consist of?
Yeah, it's basically like you take like the unique things about you, whatever those, you know, you find through the personal branding profile process, like the things that really stand out. It's like, I mean, it's kind of, I could like read mine for you.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Which might be helpful because it's a little heady, like, actually. So, basically, you also want to think about like what makes you different and like what are you promising to people. So it's like using all these various aspects. It's like the biggest part of the personal brand profile, is where it like all comes together. That's why it's hard to, it's different for everyone.
Definitely. It's sounding familiar to mission statements, which is something that I work with people on, because it's like heady and the words only mean something to you, but it's so important to get that feeling in yourself and that clarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where is I don't want to take up.
So it's not something you like go introduce yourself with. It's not something that you put on your website. But it's more of just like the culmination of all the pillars of like your personal mission. Is that?
Basically, like everything in the personal brand profile is more for you, and like understanding like your drivers and what your brand is all about for you. And then after the personal brand profile process, we turn the lens and start to think about like, how does that match up with the outside world? So so it's more like mission statement kind of stuff, and which, you know, you can share with people, and it is part of something that you start to take into the world, but mostly the personal brand profile is for you and like your own. It's also how you can start to build like your team, and like how do the values inside of your business and things like that.
All right. Cool. So the first thing that I like what you just said, we got to shine the flashlight on ourselves, get clear on our vision, go inward, and then start to shine the flashlight outward and be able to communicate and connect with the right folks, whether it's a team or clients or just people reading your emails. I would imagine you can go back to that understanding of what messages you are sharing in the world. And it sounds like a personal brand statement is that sort of guide.
Right.
Like a mission statement is a guide for your own decisions or life. Awesome. Right. Okay, so we've done and I just also want to make a quick caveat that you said so many people can just like jump over this work and it's easy to ignore. But boy, I would much rather spend a week even going through this process than a year being jumped into the wrong boat, paddling in the wrong direction, and not having that sort of anchor point. So I think it's so important to really emphasize these like things that are easy to skip over. And so many of my clients are like, I really don't want to journal about another thing. And I was like, well, how many years do you want to go? You know, how are you willing to experiment with? So once that's established, what are some other maybe myths that we could debunk about what a brand needs to do or have?
Some myths. Let's see. I don't know. I might need a little prompting here.
Or even just, okay, great. I got my brand statement. I'm ready to go. I'm open for business. I know, like, I guess maybe what's the next step, or what is the thing that people need to be actually focusing on?
Yeah. So I think after you do the personal brand profile, there's an opportunity then to think like, okay, well, what would be something that I could offer that I'd feel really good about? And how do I want to deliver that offer? That's another good decision to make in that moment, is like, based on, the vision for my life and my business and my brand, what is the delivery method that makes sense? And then from there, you can then think more about like your niche and your target market, and like actually building out that signature offer. And that's a little counterintuitive. So maybe that's a bit of a myth there, is that people think that, first you have to like build your whole program. Like this is like figuring out all the details of the content of your program and making this perfect product or service or whatever it is, like, and then bringing it out to the market. But actually, like, the best thing to do is to have an idea and start to research and talk to your potential target market and your ideal clients about your idea, and have them help you form it and clarify it, and like basically validate the fact that this is something that they want. And I think that's another important distinction too, is that you might have like this, you might be really excited about this particular thing and think like this is what people need and this is what's going to help them. But if they don't recognize that already, or if you're trying to talk people into something, like it's never a good idea. So there's kind of nice. There's kind of this this idea about like just I just lost my thought. But basically,
this disconnect between like, okay, I got my mission, I got my brand ready to go, I have an idea of who I want to talk to, I'm going to go talk at them with an offer, with my whatever, when we really need to be talking with and bringing people into this beginning process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer is addicted to client research right now, but she also asked, I'm worried what I'm doing is wrong. And I wonder if she can comment about what it is she might be doing that is wrong. Because if you're addicted to client research, it's not like you're projecting out something that is just, from your own head. Yeah. I love that. Have the patience really to ask people what they need.
And then once you've kind of validated this, you validated this idea, there's a need in the market, people are actually wanting it and craving it, like they already know they want it in some way, shape, or form. Like a lot of times there's a saying in marketing about like, tell them what they want and then give them what they need, which is a little harsh and like doesn't sound that great. Yep. but there is some truth there in the sense of speaking in a way that people can hear you, and that they want something and what's going to get them there, but they don't quite know what's going to get them there. That's part of like your promise of like, this is what's going to happen through this process. I know you want this, like, this is what you need. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's important to kind of reflect back when you were saying, what is it that you promise your clients? And that branding sheet, like you said, you may not share that because so much of the time we as coaches or consultants or experts, we know in the back of our heads what folks need, but people are not walking around saying like, I just need some automation. I need some support on copywriting and automation. No, they're thinking, I need an easier way to get leads. Oh, great. That's the language I'm using. So that I help you get easy leads, or, whatever it is you do. Right. Because we don't buy what we don't think we need.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has an idea about, what they think they need in this moment to get them where they want to go. So
unless you go to Target and then it's all, it doesn't apply. Yeah. So Jennifer responded, she's worried that what I'm doing is wrong. And she says, my logo is purple and peach. Do people like that? How would you respond to a question like that?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, it's almost like the next step in the journey too, is like, once you have an idea about what your actual offer is and you validated the need and you kind of put it out there and put it into like the outline of a signature offer. You don't have to create the whole thing yet or anything like that. Then you can start thinking about coloring and like tapping into people's tapping into like their minds and their hearts and like what they see and like kind of that stimulation of like, ooh, I like the way this looks because you know who you're talking to.
Yeah. So, tons of research and things about color psychology, things like that.
Right. Like bringing in the color psychology and things like that. So for that question, I mean, I would say, have you asked people how they feel about that? Is there a good reason why you've picked those colors, or did you just pull them out of like what you liked or what you thought people would like or anything like that? So, and a great way to do that is actually just in like, there's tons of Facebook groups you can go into and put different options of logos, and just that potentially has your ideal client there. I think that's an important distinction, but you can go in there and ask like, what do you guys think about this? Like, do you like A or B better? Things like
Straight
that.
ask them, she says. Yeah. I love that. So she commented, I'm being my authentic self and being a real person. I want to convey that as best as I can, but I feel clueless. And first of all, I know Jennifer well. I see what she's doing. And yes, you come off as an authentic and real person. And I think it comes back to this conversation of like, that's not what it's about. People want to know the language and the feeling that you're trying to create for them. Because we can go, I think asking people's opinion is amazing. But when you're first deciding, I remember when I was doing some like stuff for my website, I was like, I don't want blue because I read research that all we do is look at blue and everyone's going to be so bored and just think I'm Facebook. And they were like, but it's all you ever wear. And if we, like, I'm always wearing this color. And like, if we just like put out purple and green because you think that's going to conjure up ideas of money and balance, like that won't be authentic to you. So it's that, you know, fine line and of what do you like? And if you're forcing it and putting in way too much thought about, you know, then that's not going to land as authentic with anyone.
Yeah. And that's actually like, brings up a good thought is like a lot of people ask about, you know, faced with two options, whether it's a color for your brand or, you know, the actual offer that you're putting out there or anything like along those lines, should you go with a thing that seems more profitable or seems like people want more, or should you go with the thing that you're more passionate about? I think there's always some point in the journey that comes around, you know, like where you feel like you're going to do something for the fact that you think that usually it's more profitable, like for whatever reason you think like people are going to view it as more profitable. But I would say like it's important to have an idea that is profitable, but like based on having two different ideas, like always go with the thing that you're more passionate about and that feels more authentic to you, because that's going to be longer lasting. And
right.
I think eventually you'll kind of tweak and figure it out how to balance it out with what the marketplace needs.
Absolutely. And like you said at the beginning, you know, we don't want to build a business just because it's going to give us monetary abundance. You're talking about we want to build something that is abundant in every aspect of your life. And if you're just chasing dollars or you're doing it because it's profitable, that's not real abundance. That's not real freedom.
Yeah.
And what
I think you're eventually
interested
going to hit a wall.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have two more questions. I want to respect everyone's time. We're already at the halfway or half hour mark. So you, like I mentioned, the way that we connected is because you have been a contributor for other publications. We had a bit of a lapse in our communication because you were recently spending a lot of time at a leadership summit. You had time to come out and meet me for coffee. Like, I don't picture you as this person that is like so glued to her computer, like, you know, talent, like hustling around. So my question coming around is, how do you rise above the noise in social media, email marketing, all of that noise that a lot of us are getting in this space, and set your brand and your mission apart from others?
Mm-hmm. For me, it all comes to like deciding what you're willing to go deep with, like deciding what you want to be a master at, deciding who you want to be intimate with. Like meeting like your ideal client really is someone that you should really want to be really real with and spend time with. And someone that you think that you can also, you know, obviously support and help at the same time. And just by having that focus, and that's something that I always do with clients too, is like, I just make them, not make them, but suggest that they peel away all these extra things and just like one thing, you know, what is your signature offer? That one thing that you're willing to go deep with, and like, and that helps me. And I think I've seen that helps other people like cut away the noise. And also from a strategic standpoint too, same thing. Like, what is this one strategy right now that you can get, you know, really intimate with and like learn and know and implement, not just like know about or decide to take another course on something else or whatever it is. It's like just being willing to go deep on one thing at a time.
I love that. Be willing to go deep. Be committed to your signature offer. Stay in your lane. And then it doesn't become as stressful that you got to keep up with email and video and Instagram and the next shiny object. Super helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. The last question I want to ask, unless anyone else kind of jumps on to the chat, or habits or routines that you feel like really contributes to your success in online business?
It's definitely for me movement.
You probably have a million blogs about this on Chopra, but I wanted to see if there was like one thing you must do, and it sounds like movement.
And I'm a really super introverted, sensitive person. And so I've learned that like self-care is a real thing for me. And just being, open and willing to honor that part of myself. Cause, there's definitely a pull to want to do more or be more social or the things we think we should be doing. But for me, for whatever reason, it's movement, like really getting outside. And I have a dog, so I go on like usually like at least 2 45-minute walks a day with her because she's super active, which I don't always want to do, but I end up like knowing.
So get a dog if you need motivation, friends.
Yeah. Or it's just yoga or dance or bar class or whatever it is. Like if having that movement for me, and actually I used to have this practice, which I haven't done recently, but I used to actually write an email or, whatever I needed to write my copy while I was walking. And there's something that like helps me channel a bit. So movement is a big one for me.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Like you said, it's in, the topic I'm kind of bringing up with us is that we can become so attached to a specific outcome or just be wrapped up on our computer and, oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock on Friday and I'm like still, I don't know. Like, I think that there are so many daily things that we need to bring more consciousness, more awareness to. And that, again, like you said, if you're just building something for the sake of building it, you're going to burn out and it's not healthy and it's not inspiring and it's not success. And so I've been doing some inquiry a bit about, dream life habits or success principles or the things that people do to make sure that they, I just appreciate the way that you run your business and that it is one that rises above the noise and isn't so caught up in the daily grind. That's the vibe I get from you. And we talked a bit about that. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So quick shameless plug. This is my page. But I'm doing a training next Wednesday all about like these principles that I've been gathering from lots of successful business owners and my own experience and like how do you like remain sane while you scale? Because a lot of folks take on more clients or they work harder or they just increase their prices. But that's just none of that is really sustainable. So deep dive Wednesday, I'll drop the registration here for people that are interested. Just a free success principles training because we all could use some reminders, especially this time of year as things are growing and amping up. So how can folks stay connected with you, Nicolette? And maybe what resources do you have for us to kind of go back to the basics that you were talking about with building our abundant brands?
Yeah, definitely. The best way is just to go to my website at nicolettestinson.com. I have a checklist there that kind of gives you like a big overview of everything that's involved in creating an abundant brand. I also have a visioning course, which is a little bit what we talked about initially, goes into some of those processes and creating your ideal day and things like that. And I also have a free 5-day course called the Passion Project Plan, which is on my website. You can also go to passionprojectplan.com. So that helps you kind of map out like the launch of your passion project, really.
Amazing.
So those are the main free things I have going on right now.
And it's all on your website. We can drop a link so that people can go see those checklists. So I think that'll be really helpful. We did like a nice overview of like, yes, and then suddenly you'll have a personal brand statement, but maybe go dive into the checklist, do it for yourself, and then let Nicolette or, comment on this if you have questions. Awesome. But I definitely encourage people to go to the website, take a little time this weekend and think, just think, don't do so much.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to me via email too. You can always just email info@nicolettestinson.com. I'm happy to answer like any questions or anything you have, any comments or anything like that. I love hearing from everybody. Or reach out to me to meet in real life like Hanna did. Yeah.
I learned that she's more of a tea girl, so if you want to drop that tea line.
I do.
Yeah. No, it's been so great getting to know you, and you just brought so much value to this community. Always gracious with your time and knowledge. I so appreciate that. So any parting words or last little bits of wisdom as we all go out and try to make our dream life our real life?
Yeah, just keep going, like if you have a dream inside of your heart, like it's there for a reason, and don't get bogged down by what you maybe see online, by things happening so quickly for people, or just being so easy, or sipping drinks on the beach while you have passive income. Like keep working and keep putting yourself out there and making it happen. We're all here for you, and don't be afraid to reach out. So yeah.
I love that. I have a feeling someone listening needed to hear exactly that today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everyone, connect with Nicolette Stinson and enjoy your weekend. I will see you all soon.
Bye.
Yay. So you said you're in